still complaining though.
Yes, I'm
You're still complaining. My mom is sitting in the front. That's why you're in the back.
That's it.
What's the problem though?
I should be in the front.
Why? Okay, you're my shorty. She's my mother.
All right, and I should be in the front. This is not just your car. This is my car too.
Okay, you in it.
What difference does it make whose car it is? I don't understand why you have such a fucking problem with me being in the front.
Because I should be there.
Why?
I'm his shorty.
Big deal. I'm his fucking mother. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't even be here.
Exactly.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Abolvi, aka Petite Diva, and in this video we are discussing men that always choose their mothers over the spouse all the time, and if that is a red flag or a deal breaker in a relationship. Let's check out what people have to say, and then I'll come back to share my thoughts.
There's a Muslim sister who's getting mistreated by her husband. And when I say mistreated, I mean her husband is choosing his family over her. His mother and his sister, they don't like the wife, and he sides with them in the arguments. He takes their side and defends them over his wife. Now, as a Muslim, as a man, I can tell you the love we have for our mothers, for our sisters is crazy. These are the women that we grew up with. These are the women that raised us. But my brother, you need to understand your wife is an important woman in your life. Islamically, you have to be just. You can't just pick your mother's side or your sister's side, even if they're wrong. You have to be just and fair and side with your wife if she is in the right. And even if she isn't in the right, you need to take your wife out of the situation. Because remember, these are not your wife's parents. She didn't grow up with them. They didn't raise her. Yes, she treats them like they're her parents, but they did not raise this woman. So as her husband, do you think it's acceptable to stand here and defend your mother and defend your sister over your wife in front of your wife's face? Even if your wife is wrong, take her aside, move her away from the situation and tell her privately. Don't embarrass her in front of your mother and your sister. Remember that your wife was once a stranger to you, and you are the mutual between her and your family. So don't sit here and ridicule her. Don't sit here and make her feel ashamed and embarrassed. Remove her from the situation and advise her privately.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you are hurt by your partner or your husband's family's behavior, and for some reason your husband does not want to say anything to them? This video is for you, and maybe consider sending this to your husband. First, we need to identify what's happening here. If you have communicated to your husband that his family's behavior has hurt or upset you, and he refuses to do anything about it, that is because he is prioritizing his own comfort or his family's comfort above you. If his line of thinking is, I don't want to deal with this, it'll just blow over, she's overreacting, he is invalidating your feelings and choosing his own comfort. If his line of thinking is, I don't want to say anything to my family, I don't want to upset them, I don't want to change the status quo in my family, he is prioritizing his family's comfort over you. And I have a genuine question for the husbands who don't stand up for their wives. Why does it not bother you that your wife is being mistreated by your family? Because your wife is in my DMs telling me what your family did, and it bothers me, and I don't even know her. So how does it not bother you that your wife or the mother of your child is being so mistreated by your family? And how does that not make you want to put your feelings or your family's feelings aside and stand up for her? When you have a child with someone or you get married to them, that is the priority, period. And if you have your mom or your dad in your ear trying to get you to prioritize them over your nuclear family, that is not normal, and that is a sign of a toxic, enmeshed family system.
Mama or your wife?
Oh, wife. I believe, even the Bible talks about how a man will leave his mother and his father and he'd stick to his wife. Me and my wife or my future wife will become one flesh. Right. She is my biblical and spiritual responsibility, and we have a covenant together. As much as I love my mother, she is not wrapped into this threefold cord, right? It's me, my wife, and God. Now, understand this. Sometimes, though, there's a struggle because sometimes you being your mother's son, you have been her husband, your son's bun. You know what I'm saying? You've been her boyfriend. You've been a man of the house. So there's a power struggle. And sometimes if you are a mother and you are at that stage, you got to relinquish that control and that power over your son. Because if you want what's best for him, he can't have to be choosing between you all. You know what I'm saying? Now listen. If you don't like your son's girlfriend or wife or whatever the case may be, be happy for your kid though, all right? And try not to make as much friction. But for me, my wife and my mother will understand, all right?
Who comes first, my wife or my mother? That's a question that everybody asks. Many people think it's your mother because you know what? Heaven lies at her service and so much more, and she gave birth to you and she looked after you and everything, and your wife only came later on in your life and so on and so forth. However, that answer is not accurate. You need to know who comes first. Well, I tell you, both of them come first. You might say, what if there's a dispute? Let me explain. The love that you have for your mother is very different from the love that you have for your wife. Any mothers out there who are listening to me today, your son will love his wife so much, but that love is not stealing from yours, not taking from you. He might not be able to spend as much time with you. Be happy for him. Be excited that he's getting along and moving on with his own life, subhanallah. And remember, he will always love you, subhanallah. The same applies to the mothers of the daughters who have married. However, when there is a dispute, who comes first? Justice comes first, whether it's with your mother or whether it's with your wife. Whoever is right, that is who we will stand by. But remember to navigate the waters with a lot of respect. When you're correcting your mother, you must correct her. You must stand up for justice. Listen to this verse. Allah says, "O you who believe, stand firm for justice for the sake of Allah." Stand firm for the sake of Allah. Be just. For justice, we should be standing firm. In another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, even if it is against yourselves, your parents, or your relatives, you stand and side with justice. This means, if it's against my mother or my father, I will stand with justice and not with my mother or father. If it is against myself, I will stand for justice and not with my mother or father, not even with myself. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us an understanding. Many people fail because they allow their parents to trample over their spouses, claiming that that's my father, that's my mother, those are my parents, they gave birth to me. Please correct yourself. Even in the eyes of Allah, that's wrong.
Lady. Wife, your kid, and your
They
mum.
asked me this on Capital actually over there.
Really?
I put my mum first, you know.
Really?
I think it's easier to say that now. One, I don't understand marriage. Second, I'm not married.
Third, you don't have a kid.
And I don't have a kid.
Because you know, a lot of people in the comments were saying the right answer is
your wife,
your kid, then your mum.
That sounds mad, don't you think?
To
Just
me,
how me and you love our mums.
Two people taking over mum's spot sounds wild to me in my head.
But I understand it though. Do you understand it too though? I understand why people would say that.
I think for me, if I was a parent, I think my number one spot would be my kid. That's what I think.
Yes.
Lawrence, can I speak to you? You have a wife, you have a child, two,
yeah,
and you have a parent.
A parent.
What is your order?
It's actually the order that you named. So I think it goes wife, kids, parents. But the thing is, my parents get that. They know.
Wait, your wife before your kids. You're going mad, Lawrence.
She's the one that gave you them.
She's the one that she's birthed my kids.
So who sits in the back, your girl or your mom?
My mom.
Wow.
And my mother would have no.
I said wow since you said it fast.
No, my mother got to sit in the back. Are you crazy? You think I'm driving with my woman next to me in the car. We go pick up my mother. I'm gonna tell my woman get out the car and sit in the back.
I think that answer to that question is tricky.
No, it's not. My mom gotta sit in the back.
You know why it's tricky? Because it's one of those things you want your woman to be able to ask your mom. Like, come on, mom, you can sit in the front. If mommy say no,
if she wanted to do that, that's up to her. But I would never create a standard for my woman to get out of the car to sit in the back for my mom. No, ain't nothing wrong with the back of the car.
you getting a ride.
Them cushions just feel just as good as the one in the front.
I believe, even the Bible talks about how a man will leave his mother and his father and he'd stick to his wife. Me and my wife or my future wife will become one flesh. She is my biblical and spiritual responsibility, and we have a covenant together. As much as I love my mother, she is not wrapped into this threefold cord, right? It's me, my wife, and God.
A couple years back, my mom told me if a man cannot protect you or stand up for you against his mother, then he is not the man for you. And I would 100% tell my daughter the same thing. Being in a relationship with a man who's in a relationship with his mom or a mama's boy seems like hell. Ideally, a man shouldn't have to choose between his mom or his wife because the dynamic between the mother and son should be a healthy one. He should have differentiated himself from his family of origin. Realigned relationships to prioritize his wife and children if there are any. And mom should expect this, right? Because that's what happens when you launch your children and they begin establishing self, finding love, and creating their own family. A mother with healthy behaviors is not emotionally dependent on her son. She doesn't view her son's partner as a threat or competition or someone who has to appease her in order to be a part of their family. There is no expectation of conformity to her system or her values. There's no desire for control. There is no enmeshment. There's genuine interest in knowing the human her son wants to spend the rest of his life with. There's a desire to have a healthy relationship with this person and an expectation that they are committed to each other, thus committing to a new system. When a man realigns his relationships and commits to a new system, a healthy dynamic looks like his wife, mother, and other extended family members coexisting in their respective roles with boundaries. Any sign of enmeshment between mother and son or the partner's whole family of origin, I would advise my daughter to run for the hills and don't look back.
You know what we're not going to say about a husband who prioritizes his family? We are not going to say that that husband walked away from his biological family. Because when you get married, the family that you were born into becomes your extended family, and the family that you married, your wife, your partner, and the children that you have with that person, they become your immediate family. It is a major red flag for me and a sign of some toxic emotional enmeshment if you've got people in your husband's family saying that he walked away from his family when he chose you, when he decided to support you, when he decided to have your back, when he decided to stand up for you if people say unkind things about you or to you. He's doing what he's supposed to do. That's what a husband is supposed to do. That's what a man who loves you is supposed to do. You are entitled to a husband who treats you like an absolute princess and who will stand up for you, regardless of the people he has to stand up for you to are family. Also, I'll say that it is not a very family-like thing to do to put a man in a position where he has to choose. That's not okay, and that's not what family does.
One of my married friends told me that when you get married, your husband or your wife or whoever you're marrying, when you get married, your partner actually becomes your immediate family. And who you've known to be your immediate family, which for us is defined by our parents and our siblings, they're now your extended family.
I've seen a lot of people reacting to this video, and my initial reactions were the same as everyone else's. No shit. But when I take a step back and I actually think about all the people I've worked with for over a decade, a lot of people, especially in toxic relationships, have problems setting boundaries with their extended family. Even if you scroll through social media, you'll hear hundreds, if not thousands of people sharing their horror stories about how their significant other refused to set boundaries with their mother, with their father, with their sibling. There are people who are married right now who legitimately think that their mother comes before their wife or their husband, and their family will actually enable that.
Unpopular opinion, but if you choose your family over your significant other or your spouse, you should just stay single. I see a lot of people get into relationships, and look, you've lived with your parents for 18, 20, hell, at this point, 30, 35 years old. It's time for you to grow up. So when you bring another person into your life that you consider your significant other or your spouse, they're the priority. It's up to you to build a new life with that person. Stop trying to compare them to your mom. Stop trying to compare him to your dad. See, your parents raised you in a manner to where you are able to go about life and create a life for yourself. Your family doesn't have to be involved with every endeavor your new family is doing. Because at the end of the day, you don't want your spouse or your significant other to feel like they're competing with your family. That's just the truth.
Can you deal with a man that even when it undermines the quality of your relationship with him, undermines the financial stability of you and his relationship, that he is going to disregard that because he has to help his mother? And I would argue, if a mother loves her son and knows this is going to cause problems, she would step back or she would find another avenue. But there's many mothers who don't care. They don't care because, again, they don't respect that woman or the relationship. So all in all, I may have missed a couple things here, but you got to consider all the potential areas that can cause problems when it comes to his mother and address all of them and set those boundaries as soon as possible.
People ask me all the time, why is it always the husband's mom that's the issue? Why is it always the husband's mom that couples have an issue with? And I don't know that it is. I do think it's primarily a boy mom, husband's mom issue, but definitely not always. I have tons of people that say it's my husband's mother-in-law that's the problem, as in it's their mom. Or lots of same-sex couples who are experiencing the same issues that I relay in my content, but they're both women in the relationship, so it's not the husband's mom. And I haven't studied it. Maybe there's someone who has, but I think it's probably a really big, nuanced issue that you can't really nail down to one exact point. I couldn't say for sure, but there's one certain theme that I see come up a lot when you pull back all the details of the situation that's being communicated to me. There's one overall theme that exists, and it's a lack of self-awareness on the part of the husband's mom or the baby boomer age woman, sometimes Gen X. And lack of self-awareness sometimes starts to flirt with lack of emotional intelligence, but I'll stick with lack of self-awareness as my main theme for today. And that can look like a lot of things. Lack of self-awareness in what her relationship with her son actually looks like and looked like before they got married. Not just from her perception of it, but what does he experience in the relationship? Lack of self-awareness related to how she's experienced by other people. Lack of self-awareness on how her relationship with her children looks relative to other people. Again, in a real objective way, not just her own perception of it. Lack of self-awareness can be lack of self-awareness that talking negatively about their son or their partner to other people, how that was going to feel when that came back to them. Lack of self-awareness on how she feels about her son entering a serious relationship and how that might look. Lack of self-awareness on how she could be impacting the conflict or the situation. But then the question still remains, why is it mothers of sons that are struggling with self-awareness so much more than mothers of daughters? And then I think that just kind of gets into how boys were raised versus how girls were raised. A lot of the words we use to describe girls, bossy, dramatic, catty, chatty, what that ends up looking like in a mother-child dynamic is girls are calling their mom on stuff a lot sooner, often and early. And so you're able to narrow down and really hone in on what you might be doing and how that's affecting your daughter because she tells you. Same goes for how you resolve conflict. Because mothers of daughters are so used to being called out, for lack of a better word, addressed when they've upset their daughter, when that happens in adulthood related to boundaries about children, boundaries around their marriage, whatever the situation is, they're not immediately defensive about it. They're better equipped because they've been doing it for so long to process that feeling and work through that conflict. And so I think a lot of the issues related to self-awareness of mothers of sons, they don't really come to a head. They don't even come to light until their son gets into a serious relationship. Because in a lot of cases, she's never had to gut check herself on how her behavior or her relationship with her child actually looked compared to anybody else.
So someone asked me my personal opinion on men who put their moms before their girl. To me, it's like one of the most attractive things to see a guy who really loves his mom. To see him treat her with respect, go out his way, and you can just tell how much he really loves his mom and how much he protects her and values her, right? But it's also unattractive if a grown-ass man is a big-ass baby, lets his mom control him and dictates his every move, and he feels like he can't express himself or make decisions without his mom. But personally, I think a guy shouldn't have to be put in a position to choose between his mother and his girlfriend. I think he should be in a healthy enough relationship with both to where he's not even put in that position, because both of them have their own place in his heart. But if he is being put in that position to choose, I feel like he would need to be a man and address whoever is making it an issue. And if it's someone he's serious about and is going to marry, then your wife takes priority, in my opinion. I just think in that situation, he needs to establish boundaries and call out whoever may be overstepping boundaries. But if it's just him up under his mom, then he just hasn't become a man yet.
The moment you put your mother first before your partner, the relationship's over. You need to put your partner first at all costs. And I'm going to tell you why. You are not going to marry your mother, nor are you going to have babies with your mother. Your partner should always come first, period. I experienced this in my last relationship. My ex would put his family before me. His own mom would invite the ex over while I was over, and I blew up. And when I blew up, it was my fault. But at the end of the day, there's a respect there. There needs to be a respect. If your mom is not respecting your partner, then you need to cut your mom off. Your mom should love you enough to respect your partner, to understand that you're with this woman for a reason. The moment you put your mom first and make her a priority over your partner, the relationship's over. That's a huge trigger for any woman.
Now, so many people are saying that a man is not supposed to choose his mother over his spouse, and if such person is always doing that, that person is a red flag. Now, personally, I feel like a man who doesn't value his mother is a red flag, is someone that you need to avoid, because how he treats his mother is how he would treat you. So if he doesn't value his mother, if he disrespects her, he's most likely to disrespect you. Now, a man respecting his mother and valuing his mother is different from always taking his mother's side in situations where his spouse and the mother are having an issue, or in a situation where he's always inviting his mom into things that concern him and his spouse or their family. Now, in quite a lot of people are always skeptical about boy moms. They are always skeptical about the moms of boys, because quite a lot of times you hear the mother of the boys are always treating the spouse in a very nasty way. So it makes a lot of women to be skeptical. Growing up, I used to hear some people who pray that their mother-in-law is not alive when they get married to their spouse, because they've heard so many bad things about mother-in-laws, and they don't want to have that kind of interaction with anybody. So you will hear some people actually pray that the mothers of their spouse is not alive when they eventually meet their spouse, which is a nasty thing to think about or pray. But there's so many cases of where the mother of the guy is always antagonizing the wife. Now, I feel like in this case, it is all dependent on the guy. The guy is supposed to set boundaries with his mother. Yet, he can respect his mother and accept some of her advice, because sometimes the mothers might see something about their spouse that they might not see. But unless you have like concrete evidence of the fact that the spouse of your son is a terrible person, you really are not supposed to be antagonizing the spouse. You're not supposed to antagonize the wife of your son. So I understand having respect, but there's so many times where it's terrible when the mother of the boy would always want to be involved in their life, to the extent that they would diminish everything that the wife is all about, just because they gave birth to the son and they've taken care of the boy since they were babies and the rest. So, but like I said, it all boils down to the husband setting boundaries and letting his mother know that that is my wife, and we are now one, because we are now married and she's now my immediate family. So there's some things that you might not be involved in. There's some things that I might not be able to do for you again. There's some things that I might need you to back off from. But it's not like I'm disrespecting you. It's not like I don't value you, but I need to put my wife needs above other people needs. I need to take care of my family first. And the mother of the boys need to understand that, yes, now the boy is with his wife, he's no longer going to be as available as he used to be, and it's okay because he has his own family to take care of. Anyway, I don't know what you guys think about this whole topic. Do you think that a man always putting his mother first above his spouse is a red flag, and people should try and avoid such guys? Or do you think it's a good thing for a man to always put his mother above his partner, and it's not that big of a deal? I would love to hear what you think about this whole topic, so please leave your comment in the comment section so that we can get this discussion popping. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not yet subscribed and you like videos such as this, please consider subscribing by clicking on the red button that says subscribe, and don't forget to click on the bell notification icon by the side so that you're notified anytime I upload videos. Now, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.